It's curvy, it's isolated, there's lots of forest, it's very deep, you know, and high up. It's your typical ravine. But as I said, there are some beautiful homes built on that ravine.
There are several streets that were planned to go from like the top of the hill down to Walhalla that are still on every city map to this day, but don't actually exist. And you can see when you drive down Walhalla that there's these little roads that go like 4 feet and then stop. And when they were constructing Walhalla, like in 1910 or 1920, whenever they did it, you know, they decided to stop, but still, almost all the maps still say that Brynhild goes all the way down there, or some other roads go all the way down there.
Oh, on any given day, you'll see people jogging, walking their dogs, just leisurely strolling through the sharp edges of the shale cliffs that go down through here, and enjoying the trees, and just simply having a park that is there because it's too hard to develop too much. Although many houses have been built down there even since I've lived here, including my house, to kind of disturb the beauty that's there. But it's just why do people go to the seashore? They're drawn to that natural world, and that's down there. Now, the real attraction where the kids hang out, and more so under the old bridge than under this bridge. The old bridge was magnificent, although granted it was crumbling and the rocks were falling through, and something had to be done. So when they announced that they were going to tear the old Walhalla Bridge down, everybody envisioned that they were going to put up a freeway-like bridge with no class, no character, and so on and so forth. So a lot of people were upset that we're going to lose the majesty of that old crumbling bridge, which kind of was castle-like. And the kids used to climb up on the beams underneath it, and it used to be a place, you know, to smoke a joint or whatever you wanted to do down there, and kind of gather under the bridge.
I think that the area is blessed by its very nature. Okay, it is beautiful, and when you're in the ravine and living on the ravine, it is not like you are living in either this town or any town in particular at all. Okay, living here is like living in no town, USA. Okay, it's a shame that we couldn't be incorporated as a non-entity. The city would never go for that, but we really are special, and we're special because we don't belong to the rest of the crowd.
Yeah, we used to go there, ride our bikes down through Walhalla, and especially my brothers used to hang out under the bridge and get high all the time. A lot of kids would get out and get high and spray graffiti and drink beer underage, and that's the kind of stuff that went on under the bridge, which was Calumet Road, under Calumet Bridge.
And the strange thing was, when I heard that they blocked off Calumet there for whatever time it took to tear it down, I thought, looking at that old concrete bridge, it was going to take them 3 or 4 weeks to take that down. And we used to walk down there. They were all a chain link fence around it, so you couldn't get too close to it at that time. They took that bridge down in one day. It was amazing. The little pile driver on the little bulldozer, it went in there and just crumbled in one day. Sat down there and watched it for maybe 3 or 4 hours, and the major part of it was gone. We are much more proficient in destroying than we are in building. It was incredibly efficient.
Living here remains sort of a time warp. Okay, when you come home here, you really basically come home to, you leave the world. Okay. You leave the world that's only a few hundred yards down High Street. You're away. Now, I mean, everybody should feel that way about going home, but here you can look out. We can look out and see the ravine. It doesn't matter what time of the year. We just see the ravine, and it's basically very quiet and very, very nice. And things go on at their own pace. It's like being close to nature, without being 40 miles out of town. Okay. It's kind of a preserve. It's like living in a national forest.
first story that I heard was about a couple that had gone down to Walhalla one night after a date, and it was late. It was like midnight or something like that, and they were driving down, and where there's a bunch of trees and it's hard to see anything, a bunch of kids jumped out and actually started attacking the car, hitting the car, just totally smashing it. And luckily those people got away. That was all I heard about that one. So I was told never to drive down there like after midnight or so, because gangs used to do that to people. And then the second one I heard was that it happened to a couple girls that were, I don't know how they ended up down there, but they were walking down in Walhalla or something, and they were actually raped down there. And so I guess that's why I was also not allowed down in Walhalla, because like people have been raped or beat up. So that's about it.
And why do you think that is? Is it connected to the site somehow?
I think it's because where it's located, it's like because all the trees, and at night, if you've ever been down there at night, it's dark and you can't see, what's in the tree, in the bushes and all. And there's a little brook that everybody likes to walk down, so they think that maybe young people go down there and like to hang out there when they know they can just, steal from them or something. I don't know. It's scary down there at night. So maybe that's why there's rumors or whatever.
Our whole high school pretty much just said that 2 teenagers were killed down there. I don't know how long ago it was, and that if you go down there at night, sometimes you can hear moaning and crying and stuff.
The stories that I've heard about Walhalla was that a guy had hung his whole family in his house, and that the rumor is that the bodies are still in the house, upstairs in the bedroom, in the closet. And the guy is still in the house too, and he never comes out the house, and the police are scared to go up to his house because they think that he's going to get killed. They think that they will get killed.
It was an isolated place, lots of trees, a forest area, and a pond, and it wasn't in the view of the parents' eyes, so that they were afraid that somebody could come along and snatch us. And in fact, that did happen to a little boy, not from Walhalla, but at that time, a little boy was kidnapped and in Columbus when I was about 10 or 12 years old, and the first thing they thought of was, don't you ever go to Walhalla.
Mooney's Mansion. Mooney's Mansion is a mansion, it's just a house on Walhalla. It's a couple of doors. Maybe it's the closest house to the Crestview School baseball diamond. And Mooney's Mansion was said to be haunted, and that an old man named Mr. Mooney, if you were brave enough kid, you would go and break into the house and walk around, but if Mr. Mooney caught you, he would kill you and chop your head off and eat you or something like that. I can't really remember what it was.
Very first stories on Walhalla is the story of the man who lived in the haunted house, who hung himself from the old Walhalla Bridge, and the house sits up on a hill overlooking the bridge and haunts the ravine on dark and mystical nights. I might say something about that too, even though you don't ask me, but
What's Walhalla Bridge?
I'll tell you about it.
Okay.
Walhalla Ravine, probably sometime like 1986 or 1987, for the first time, was lighted. They put street lights in the ravine. And from that time on, of course, the mysteries and the stories have had a different tone, because in the darkness, that's where the ghost used to haunt up and down the ravine. Now, since the lights have been put in, the ghost hasn't been heard or seen. It used to be when you'd walked up the ravine, up to Studio 35, up Indianola, to see a movie, you would walk in total darkness in Walhalla, and that's when the real mystery was. And you could actually hear and see the ghost when you walked under the bridge that goes over Calumet.
What you heard and saw the ghost.
Of course.
Okay, tell me about that.
When you went under the bridge, you'd hear these echoing sounds, and one of the ways that the local natives attempted to pacify the ghost, and of course the police and the city council never understood what they were trying to do, was to write all kinds of foul 4-letter words on the underside of the old Walhalla Bridge, because they thought with 4-letter words they could scare away or shock the sensibilities of the Walhalla ghost. But since they tore the old bridge down, and there was a great furor several years ago, maybe that was 8 or 9 years ago, about the same time the lights came in, that they tore the bridge down and built a new one. Since that time, the ghost has not been seen, and unless other people have seen it, I have not seen or heard the ghost since they got the street lights.
What type of sounds does the ghost make?
Echoing, windy sounds like out of a Fellini film.
Is it Mooney Mansion by there? I think it's called Mooney Mansion. Oh, is that? Yeah, Mooney Mansion. It's a Mooney Mansion was a house that people were killed in. It's yeah, it's right there on the corner, I think it is. It's called Mooney Mansion, and a family was killed there or something, and it's supposed to be haunted, and maybe that's why they say Walhalla's haunted with like all of the people that have been killed there with their ghosts or something, but the people that have been like raped or murdered down there, that like they still hang out there, or I don't know, it's just a freaky place at night.
Then you haven't heard then any of the stories about it being haunted in any way?
No, I hadn't heard that. I just know we weren't supposed to go there. And there are some big old homes there that are like turn-of-the-century types that make it look that way.
The haunted house, if you go across the Calumet Bridge and you stand on the east side of the bridge and look a little bit to the right, you'll see this huge white house that sits at the top of the hill. Now, if any house deserves to be haunted, that does. I would not live there.
Why do people think this house is haunted?
Because they know the story of the man who lived in that house who hung himself from that bridge. Everybody knows that story.
Everybody knows that story, and that's why you think it's haunted?
Well, isn't that a good enough reason to be haunted? Dead bodies.
All right, who haunts the ravine?
That's who haunts the ravine, the man who used to live in the haunted house.
The man that lived there before the man
Who hung himself, yeah, who hung himself on the bridge.
Do you know his name?
I don't know his name. But in ghost stories and mysteries, the less you know, the better.
Okay, yeah. This is interesting. This kind of has manifested, this story I'm going to tell, is kind of manifested itself over several years through several different bits and pieces of information. It started when I first moved in here, and some of the neighbors, we'd get together and talk and stuff, and of course everybody's very proud about living on the ravine and stuff. It's kind of a novelty and what have you, and they would tell me that, their beliefs that there's some kind of a vortex of energy that surrounds and lives in the ravine. And, well, I'm not necessarily real superstitious or go into all of that kind of, vortexes of energy, but, with the geologic background that I have, phenomena and the earth phenomena and different things that do happen, I could see where maybe the lithologies that go in the ravine, the way it's been carved out by the glacial rivers and stuff, there might be some kind of phenomena going on. It could be. I don't think it's a supernatural thing, but whatever. But I'd heard this from more than one source, and that was all fine. That's kind of neat. A vortex of energy coming up the ravine. And I guess a few years ago, my stepdaughter was living with us for a time, and she didn't sleep well at night. And she'd always kind of go out in our back patio, or front porch, I guess. It faces the ravine. I call it the back part of the house because we used it. Anyway, it's a long story. So she was up late one night, and she was out, I don't know, I think she was writing. She writes everything. She's a beautiful writer, and she said she got an eerie feeling. And, all the crickets stopped and the wind died down, and she just got this very queer feeling and just felt like she had to look down in the ravine. Well, you can see part of the ravine road from our front porch. And she said it was a full moon out, and she said she saw very clearly a figure, a person, walking down the road in Walhalla, and this person had a big long cape with a great big hood pulled up over his head, she, right, and just very slowly walked on by, and she said she was just mesmerized, and she watched this, and as soon as this person was out of sight, the crickets started cricking, and this wind stirred, and she just felt like this sudden urge to get inside, like fear or strangeness or like a big release of tension or something, so she came inside. And she told me this story the next morning. And I said, I said, how about that? I said, well, you know, I said, there's this vortex of energy that goes around. And she had heard that and stuff. She goes, I know, but she was a little spooked. I mean, it really kind of bothered her because it affected her so much. And so, you know, nothing more was said. We'd never seen this hooded person again.
My daughter, I've not seen them. My daughter says she's seen hooded people walking up and down the ravine and late at night. I've not seen this.
Have you ever gone down there at night?
Yes.
And explain to me how and why.
It was actually with a friend of mine and her dad and her little sisters or whatever. Because he had joked about it with us about how people had jumped out in the car, and so he joked around and went down there and was acting like he heard noises and scared us, and that was the first time I ever went down there, and I was scared after that. But as I got older, it was a joke to go down there, and where there's a bridge, as they say, you can't stand underneath the bridge or acid will drop on your face and go through you. So I don't know, it was just kind of because we were told not to go down there. That's why I think we went down there.
Why did they say acid will drop on your face?
I have no idea. It was because the old bridge. There's a new bridge there now, but the old bridge used to was so old or something. Acid used to drip from it. Just rumors heard, because like water or something did drip from it. You saw like puddles, but I don't think it was acid. It was just all of that. It was.
Have you ever gone down there?
Yeah, I've been down there during the day.
Okay, not at night. And so, was it scary at all to you when you were down there? Or?
Not really. It's a really pretty road.
Why don't you go down there at night?
It's kind of far from where we live because it's up in Clintonville.
Oh, you want me to tell my story about?
Just basically describe where the house is.
It's a real big, dark house. The lights don't come on ever or anything like that. We went up there one time, and it's like a big, long stairway and up to the house. It looks real creepy, like, and the stairs are real high and all that stuff. And it's a whole bunch of woods, like right by the stairs. And basically, that's it.
Why did you go to the house?
It was after a football game one night, and we was after a beach cross football game, and they had won the football game, and I guess it was a tradition to go up there like every time they won against a certain team or whatever. So, and I was at that particular game, and I got some friends that play for beach cross, so we all went up there and all that stuff and just chilled and was scared and all that stuff.
Wait, did you run up the staircase?
Yeah,
explain to me what you did exactly.
We went down. Well, we parked our cars at the top of the street and walked down the whole street, and it was like real dark. You can't really see nothing except like it's like little street lights and all that stuff, but you really still can't see. And it's like woods, like it's a street right here, then there's woods on each side of the street. And so when we got to the house, what everybody did was climb up the steps. And then this guy came outside, we don't know who it was, and started taking pictures of us and stuff. And so then we ran back down the staircase, and after that, everybody was running all that stuff and screaming and stuff. And then we ran back to the cars and left.
Who do you think that guy was?
I don't know who it was.
Do you think that the guy's in there and there's dead bodies in there?
I doubt it, but you never know. It might be your friend, Mr. Ruby, that one guy. What's that dude's name? Mr. Clay. Yeah, Mr. Clay. I don't know.
Were there any girls with you? Or
it was a lot of girls. It was mainly girls. It was just like a couple dudes, and they was grabbing onto us and all that stuff. And we felt like big men or whatever, and that's about it.
All right, so just kind of describe the incidents as close as you remember.
Okay, one Halloween night, the drum major from school, his name was Miles, and a couple of majorettes, my friend Karen and I, were all together. Miles was a senior, I was a sophomore, and we went to this house on the corner of East North Broadway and Indianola, which was kind of the last end of the ravine there. And it was abandoned house, and it was built like an old castle. It had turrets. It was an exciting place, and I'd always wished that somebody had fixed it up because it was such a neat house. So we were all going to go over there, and then when we got over there, I was like everybody's grandmother at the time. I didn't want to go in the house because I was afraid I'd fall through a board or something like that. And they all went in, and I kept pacing around the car because I knew they'd all be dead and it'd be my fault. That's for sure. But they all came back and they told me they got so scared in there because when they started walking around there were like things flying and all of that. So we did recover from it, but that was the scary part of this big old abandoned house. And right now they tore it down and it's an Army recruiting station. So the house is no more.
Did you ever see Mr. Mooney?
No.
Did you ever test the legend?
I didn't test the legend. I was too afraid when I was a little kid.
Okay. Did anything actually happen that you heard of or that you knew of firsthand that
No, there was
believe
supposedly Mooney murdered people, and that's why it was a haunted mansion. Supposedly there were murders. I don't really remember the big thing. One of the biggest things I remember is that Walhalla used to be a two-way street. And the big thing, as soon as we were 16, the big test of courage was to drive as fast as you could from Indianola to High Street or from High Street to Indianola with your lights off.
And did you do that?
Well, yeah.
And that was sort of what, an initiation,
It was
right?
kind of
with guys,
a
or?
neighborhood initiation into, you know, being a cool driver or being a coolio.
And so you passed the cool test.
Oh, absolutely.
And one more story, fairly recently, last Halloween, as a matter of fact. How appropriate. The man who lived in the haunted house, true story, had some kids come to his door, and they started hassling him, and he started getting upset that they were hassling him. And before the evening was over, one of the kids who had come to the door to hassle him pulled out a handgun and shot this man in the hand, the man who now lives in the haunted house. I'd never lived there.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
Why?
Because I think there's been too many times that things have happened, or like, I don't know, people do seances, they say they see things, or like when we die, I don't think that, I don't know, our souls just stay up in heaven. I think there's purposes for people to be here, and or if something happened, they were killed, they need to find a way to resolve it before they get to heaven, or I don't know, I just think that, I believe that there are ghosts that roam the earth.
So you think there might be ghosts at Walhalla then?
Yeah, I think it's possible. Just because, I don't know, if you ever walk down there, it's like you always hear noises, or, I mean, I know it's just nature itself, but it just makes you think that there actually might be ghosts down there looking at you.
I believe that 2 teenagers were killed there, but I'm not sure if like all the moaning and the howling and stuff is true.
No, I don't believe in stuff like that because, I mean, just looking at the world today and seeing that people be getting caught, like killing people and stuff, I don't think that the police would just let somebody just lay up in a house and all that stuff and let the dude just chill in his crib and all that stuff without getting caught.
I personally believe that all our minds are full of the memories of ghosts that we have known and will know.
I don't discredit it. Like I said, you know, the earth is full. It's quite a dynamic place, and the power that's held within, you know, within this planet of ours is quite awesome. And I say a lot of things are possible. Sure.
Well, there's an element of, you know, there's an element of truth to almost all of these stories, and the problem, or not, as the case may be, is how much credence you want to put into the story.
I think the fear of ghosts comes when you're alone in the dark and the silence. And there's the unknown that you can't explain. Unexplained things happened.
Because I mean, it was like, it was during the daytime, but you know what I'm saying? It was like, I didn't know if the stories were true or not. I mean, I didn't want to trust it, you know what I'm saying, with my judgment, because I ain't really knew. And then what really freaked me out was when we went onto the porch and there was no wind blowing whatsoever, and his rocking chair started moving. And I mean, it was no wind blowing whatsoever, and just started moving by itself. And that's what really scared me. That's why I don't ever want to go to that street again. But I don't believe in it though. But I just, nah, I don't disbelieve it. Just, I mean, it's like, I mean, they just want to have a scary thing on the streets or whatever. I mean, it's like, I mean, like everybody tries to get myths started or something like that. That's like rumors and all that stuff about superstars and stuff. Like they just want stuff to get stirred up and stuff, and have people go down the street and just to witness it or whatever and get scared. I mean, ain't nothing wrong with the street. It's just that if you hear a story, you're gonna be scared regardless because of what you heard.
And the telling of ghost stories is trying to explain something that the science or the police or the other people haven't been able to explain. So you invent your own explanations. You have to explain. You have to resolve these things. If somebody with a rational, reasonable mind doesn't resolve them for you, somebody has to resolve them, so make up your own.
Oh, well, I don't know. Supernatural phenomena always seems to intrigue people. They can't explain it. They don't have maybe the tools or the desire to find out. It's a little bit of mystery. It's intriguing. It makes you feel special.